Hey, how you doing? Martin Lopez, the author of The Curiosity Theory, A Path from Conflict to Resolution. And I'm super excited to do my day one of my 31-day challenge. And what I'm going to do is for the next 31 days, I'm going to talk about my book, The Curiosity Theory, a little bit about what the ideas are behind it. I'm actually going to bring on some other friends and some guests, people that are trained in conflict resolution, that are trained working with organizations, organizational therapists, organizational psychologists to come along and do what we call a hijack, to come in on this page, on the Curiosity Theory fan page, and share with you some of their ideas. So it's going to be a great ride. I'm looking forward to sharing my book and giving away some free stuff. In a couple days, I should have the audio for the book done and ready to go, and I'll be able to give that out. And then next week, what I'm going to do is the Kindle. I'm probably going to put that up for like 99 cents, so you'll be able to go and get that off of Amazon. So what are we going to talk about today? Today I want to talk about shifting the way people approach conversations from reactive to proactive. So conversations. So how do we approach conversations typically? What I'm talking about is how if you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a professional or a business or a personal relationship, we enter into conversations. And the way that we enter into the conversations is going to determine how that conversation turns out, whether it's going to be a positive outcome or whether it's going to be a negative outcome. So if I approach a conversation being self-righteous and knowing what the other person's thinking and what's going on with the other person, chances are that conversation is not going to go in too good of a direction. If I approach the conversation being open and curious, then there's a more likelihood of the conversation turning out in a proactive way. So when we approach conversations, are we being proactive or are we being reactive? And then during the conversations, are we reacting to what people are saying, or what we're doing is trying to be proactive and taking the goodness out of what they're saying and say, how do I look at what they're saying and really get the point of what they're committed to? For instance, like let's say somebody is criticizing me. I feel criticized, right? So I could be feeling anxious, maybe embarrassed, and what I'm looking for is acknowledgement or appreciation. It could be the same thing with the other person. Maybe somebody's criticizing me, or it seems like they're criticizing me, but what they're saying is that they're anxious or they're embarrassed about what happened in the interaction, and what they would like to have is a little bit more maybe honesty, a little more acknowledgement, maybe a little more freedom in the conversation. So it's about identifying what people's feelings are, and then being able to connect those with what needs follow those feelings. And that's the whole idea. That's the whole it's the whole kit and caboodle, as they say, of the Curiosity Theory. It's being able to identify what people are feeling and what need they have that's behind that. And when you approach people in conversation, start listening for the need. Start listening for what their approach is and how are they talking. That word need is such a huge word, and I'm going to do a whole video on that, on the word need. I'm going to break that down. But let's start listening for the word need and hearing that people are saying, I need you to do this for me, or I need that, or I needed this. People are telling you exactly what it is they need. And I know it's an easy thing to hear, and sometimes it says, oh, you just need things, you're needy. But that is the keys to the kingdom, because understanding that someone's communicating something to you directly, and then seeing if you can meet that need, or if that person has to meet the need for themselves, and that might not be something that you're available to meet, might not be realistic. But understanding that gives you a lot of power, and gives the conversation a lot of power, and allows you to move forward versus bump heads. And so shifting the way that we approach conversations is vital to having conversations that are forward moving. So one of the other things that I hear people telling me is that they feel like they're manipulated in conversations. Like I'll talk to some of I coach people, and I'll talk to some of my clients that I coach, and they'll say, I feel like the person's trying to manipulate me. And so I say, well, let's find out what the need is. Like, what is a need that people have when they're feeling manipulated. And see if this fits for you right here. So if someone's feeling manipulated, I would say that a need that would be connected to that would be maybe respect, not feeling that they're getting respect. Maybe not feeling that there's an equality in that conversation, that maybe the other person is assuming a more dominant role in that conversation, like they are more in control of it and you have less control. The other thing is that as when you have that manipulation going on, is that there's a lack of trust. It's hard to trust somebody when you're feeling manipulated. So that is an important part of that. So we talk about that, like, so understanding what are the key needs that you have to address when you're feeling manipulated, and then what are the feelings you have, like what are the emotions. That has to do with emotional intelligence. An emotion could be, I feel powerless. This person is manipulating me and I feel powerless and I don't trust them. They see how that just kind of goes together. So understanding those components allows us to be proactive in conversations versus reactive, because we take a look at ourselves and we say, where are we and how can I take some responsibility? How can I assume some responsibility for what's going on, and then communicate based on that responsibility. Another meaning, what people tell me, this is what happened, is they feel maybe misunderstood. I feel misunderstood, like the person didn't understand me. And that causes a lot of upset and frustration for people. And what it is maybe the person just needs to be heard. I need to listen. I need to be heard. I need you to take a minute and just hear what I have to say. I'm not looking for you to agree with what I'm saying, but what I need to do is at least be heard so that I can feel respected in that conversation and at least understood. Not agreed with, but understood. Like, how many conversations have you been in that you were talking to somebody and you felt that, and this happens for me all the time. This is why I'm saying this is my personal experience. I'm not a guru at this. I take my life, I take my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my clients, my customers, my clients, people that I coach, my kids, and I take those things, and that's how I come up with this. So how many times have you been in a situation with somebody and you felt that they weren't, that they were saying something to you, and you didn't agree with what they were saying, and because you didn't agree with what they were saying, you didn't want to get the point? That happens to me. Like, and it happens with I have a 14-year-old son, Diego, and a lot of times I'll try to make a point to him, and you can see his refusal to get the point because he wants to, and he said this, he's acknowledged this, because he wants to stick with his opinion, his idea, his concept. And if he listens to my concept, he is maybe abandoning his own concept. And that's a tough thing for people. That's an ego blow sometimes, like, because what we do is we say, I'm wrong. You know, we say like, I don't know what I'm doing. So we don't want to feel that way. We don't want to be labeled that way internally and externally. So what we do is we fight back and we push back, and then we become reactive in conversations versus proactive. So an example would be, let's say I was saying something to my son and he had a difference of opinion, or let's say he was saying it to me. So Diego was telling me something, saying, hey Dad, this I don't know, let's say the way they're washing your car. The way you're washing your car is not a good way to wash the car. And I disagree with him. But I think if I agree with him, what he's going to do is when next time he washes my car, he's going to wash it that way. So my disagreement has a reason for disagreeing, but yet I'm not listening to the other person. So the other person doesn't get to be heard or doesn't get to be understood. So he feels that he's being manipulated and he feels upset and frustrated. And that's how it all comes together. So it's these little different components of what you observe and the meaning you make it, which is misunderstood is a meaning, because there is no misunderstood when I'm thinking that you're misunderstanding me. You know, that's just that I'm assuming that, right? And then the upset and frustration were our actual emotions. So there's a degree of emotional intelligence that we need to do when we're shifting the way that we approach people. We want to be able to identify the emotions that we're experiencing and what that core need is. And I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs in order to identify that. So shift the way that you approach conversations with people. Shift from reactive to proactive. I think it'll make a huge difference for your life and for the relationships you have. And I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please comment below. Let me know what you think about what I was saying and if it touched a chord. If you have any stories, I would love to hear them. You know, things that people have said to you and what you've made it mean, and how you felt about it and what you needed that didn't get addressed in those conversations. I'd love to hear about that. Please comment below, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Happy December, and let's finish 2016 strong. Take care.